This question is a great example of what I feel like I constantly say about these figure questions, both in reading and in writing. They do not have to do with the passage. Occasionally I'll be wrong, but for the most part, they're not going to need the passage. And this question makes you think it's about the passage, right? Do the data in the table provide support for the author's claim, right? So, I better understand the author's claim, better go back to the passage. No, the question answers that for you, right? That infection with varroa mites increases a honeybee's susceptibility to secondary infections. So they've already summarized the passage for you in the question. But even without that, right, our whole purpose with these questions is to narrow our focus to just small ideas, right? And that's why we usually start with the graph, even when the passage is involved, because the graph, the figure, will be easier to understand. There's less stuff to focus on. So it's easier to narrow our focus. So what do we need to narrow our focus to? Well, the question is asking about the mites. Let's go to our graph. Let's see what we get. Well, I see the title, Pathogen Occurrence in Honeybee Colonies with and Without Colony Collapse Disorder. So nothing about mites there. How about this row? Colonies with and without colony collapse disorder. It's pathogens. Nothing about mites there. How about over here? What's all this stuff? Viruses, IAPV, KBV, fungi, whatever those things say. I don't see any mites there. So, does the data in the table provide support for the author's claim about varroa mites? I don't know. There's no mites in the table, so that can't be a good sign. And sure enough, it's not A or B. It's definitely going to be D. The data do not indicate whether the honeybees had been infected with mites. It's just not there. Now, we can look at the other choices a little bit more closely, but that would be good enough for me. C, the data do not provide evidence about bacteria as a cause of colony collapse disorder. Well, who cares about bacteria? That's true, but it has nothing to do with the claim in the question itself, right? It's about mites. A, yes, because the data provide evidence that infection with a pathogen caused the colonies to undergo colony collapse disorder. Well, I mean, that's a little strong. Infection with a pathogen caused the colonies to undergo it. I mean, it seems like the numbers are suggesting that, but cause is very, very strong. I mean, we like to think about things as being evidence of something else, not necessarily direct causation or direct proof. But, that's wrong for other reasons, right? That's not about the mites, and that's what we're supposed to be looking at, the mites. And then B, because for each pathogen, the percent of colonies infected is greater for colonies with colony collapse disorder than for colonies without colony collapse disorder. Well, that is true. That is mathematically true, but the problem is the yes. Because remember, the question was about the mites. And so look, this is what they're absolutely trying to trap you with here. This choice B, I think if you got this wrong, is probably what you put. Because we're used to these graphs being very just like numerical, I guess is the word, right? You look at a number, it's either bigger or smaller than another number, right? A line goes up or goes down, a bar is higher or lower. So the data is usually very easy to interpret. And this is a correct interpretation. But remember, the question is going to ask for specific things, and this is actually very common on the SAT. That the answer to these figure questions is that the figure doesn't tell us anything important, or it doesn't answer the question that's being asked. So don't be afraid to pick that. That's something I guess people are nervous of, but it is absolutely a choice that has come up on many SATs, that the graph is essentially irrelevant to the question, irrelevant to the passage. It happens. So trust the words, right? There's nothing about mites, so the graph is not about mites, so can't help us. That's okay.